they're not in sort of regular use, and that's why sort of the instrument making world got this. And these two pieces are the book match pair. So if we open it like a book, they'll be joined like so. This is where I found, I mean, you wanted the real constellations, where we decided we would.
Yeah. No, I really like that idea of the real.
For example, this was Orion.
Right.
And then I was making some choices. Sound faster through a solid is some metals. Better than call it quality of mellow. People call it sweet. Other people call it warm. Others call it round, you know? And I get to know all those adjectives. I see it as a means of, like any good art, separate from the instrument, even though the guitar is my canvas. But what I liked about this one was I had a chance to use all of the palette of materials I've been using recently. Besides 6 or 7 different kinds of shell and various legal ivories and metals and woods, I'm also using stone, specifically reconstructed stone. That's the real stone, but reformed in a way that makes it usable with my cutting tools. And it's not fully as hard as natural stone.
I guess we first met in the early 70s through the folk music scene, the Fiddler's Green Folk Club, which used to be up near Yonge and Eglinton. And I remember when Grit first started apprenticing with John Larrivee, who was another luthier from Toronto, and we met in those days, and I used to run a little coffee house Grit played at, and we just had time to meet and hang out, and I sort of watched the whole progression of these instruments that he was building. The sun is a symbol of light and energy, positive force, purities, and so on. And Grit had done a really interesting way of conveying that sense, and it was his idea. I'd said, well, just like the sun, because I didn't want it something as elaborate as some of Grit's inlays that get very elaborate with a lot of detail of people and things like that. But Grit suggested, which I just loved, this putting this little person at the bottom, and it's sort of an undefined sex. It's just sort of a archetypal human, reaching up to the sun and receiving that light. My new guitar, it has the moon and stars on it, and this was in a sense to complement the 12-string, which I already had. So anyway, I wanted a guitar that would complement that. So I suggested for this, I've already got the sun. How about the moon and the stars?
His first vision actually was a sort of cascade of stars spilling down the neck. And then through discussion, we decided to do real constellations. By that, I mean taking the locations of the stars from exactly where they are in the sky, in the night sky, and doing stars of different sizes to represent the different light magnitudes and how we perceive them with the eye. And then from there we went to constellations that had meaning for him, or he just liked them, or they related to something in his life, and then I just created a sky mix of constellations all the way from the peg head down the fingerboard. 156 stars entirely.
So for this guitar, I wanted a guitar that would do it all. I wanted something where that would have that clarity and those high notes would be able to sing, but the open chords would sound full and rich and ring, and so we opted for sort of a middle size. And I knew I wanted to be able to get up the neck, so I knew I wanted a cutaway. And then we went through a whole debate as to how far the neck should go. And I've always been frustrated. Most guitar necks go to about a C. Some only go to a B, C, maybe C sharp. So this goes all the way up to an E flat. So that's a minor third higher than the C that most guitars have. And of course this armrest, which once you've played one of Grit's, and this is one of Grit's innovations, you know, I can't tell you how many times over the last 35 years, playing at a folk festival or something where you're playing for hours on end, I'll end up with a big mark, and I'm sure you could see if I took my shirt off, like a place where the hairs are worn away on my arm from that corner on the guitar. And this is just so comfortable, and it just it feels so great. So that was another thing.
I'm moved by music, emotionally, artistically, creatively. So that's the driving force as a musician, and also in search of the sounds that you're trying to pull out of this wooden box. You know, they tie in very closely, almost inseparably. And I really feel strongly that limitations such as those brought by function can be the biggest spur to creativity that you have, because you're forced to think of ways around it and deal with the functions and be creative, which to me is more challenging than having a completely blank slate of whatever media or medium you're in and just doing what your body and spirit feels like at the moment. To me, that defines functional craft. Despite how stunning a guitar might look with elaborate inlay work and beautiful joinery, if it doesn't play well and sound good, it's a failure. That's its role. To do that, then the tasks to meet that function, and for me the opportunity to use it as a canvas for my inlay art. Luckily, my customers have taken it the way I'm giving it to them, which is feeling that they have a work of art that they can use. And they actually verbalize.